Good afternoon, my friends. Today we're going to be talking about a few things. So to get us started, let's list it out. All right, we have the Council of Lyon, the restoration of Byzantium, or the Eastern Roman Empire, under the fledgling Palaiologi dynasty, and the Papal States with its influence over the new emperor Michael VIII, as well as we're going to talk about the martyrs of the Zagraphou monastery and what happened to them. So what we're looking at right now is a map of Europe in 1261, specifically the areas of importance. So the Empire of Nicaea, the Kingdom of Sicily, Papal States, um, and as well the other successor states of the Latin Empire. Okay, so how does any of this matter right now? What did it look like prior to the conclusion of the map that we're now at? How does any of this have any relevance within what we're going to be discussing? So this shows the Latin Empire as the successor and main power within the Greek areas, whereas contrasted to after the Restoration in 1261 when we have the Roman Empire. Now, we understand a little bit of the geographical landscape, but what does this give us information about for the actual characters that we're going to be discussing? So, Michael VIII Paleologus, as he would soon become when he took the emperorship, uh, started the Paleologi dynasty, or Paleolog, depending on pronunciation. Uh, but who were they? So, some say that they were Anatolian nobles from the later centuries, so roughly 11th or 12th. Others would claim to say that they were nobles all the way back from ancient Rome, although it is less supported than the more recent establishment of their dynasty. So we're going to stick with the 11th, 12th century military aristocracy that they were. So the Paleologi were oftentimes generals or other such leaders within the military, not accustomed to the administrative side of governance or um, statecraft that tends to come with these aristocratic families within medieval ages, especially within the Byzantine Empire. Um, Most notably, they intermarried with the previous dynasties, which gained them a bit of power and influence. So the Comnenos dynasty, the Ducas, and the Angelos dynasties, they all seem to have invested interest within them because it gained them that uh, nobility rather than just being military, I guess, aristocrats, which is what they were. So again, back to Michael, we have the previous emperor to him being Theodore Lascaris, and upon his death in, I believe, 1258, um, his son was too young to rule still, so Michael was appointed as his regent. And what does the regency mean? Well, that means that Michael is essentially going to become the head of the state now. Sure, there's the checks from the clergy and uh, the nobles. However, because he is essentially reigning in place of the child emperor, he gets a lot of prestige, reputation, influence from all the stuff that goes on within the country. And so he starts getting, you know, ambition to become the actual emperor. And so, to help his plans in 1259, Michael decides to blind the young John Lascaris, the son of Theodore Lascaris, and this really upsets a lot of the Lascaris supporters within Anatolia. And they're about ready to have an open rebellion to depose and exile the new emperor of Michael. So, how does he maintain his power? What allows him to become the actual emperor and have the support of these rebellion nobles? Well, the goal and the eventual plan that he carries out is the recapturing of Constantinople from the Latins, which he successfully does in 1261. The Eastern Roman Empire is back in control of the great city of Constantinople, the queen of all cities, the bulwark of Christendom. And boy, are the Latins furious. The previous and the final emperor of the Latin Empire, Baldwin II, wishes to have his throne, obviously, as any deposed ruler would do during a uh, very serious time. Uh, he goes to a foreign ruler, Charles of Anjou, who happens to be the brother of the King of France, Saint Louis the Ninth. Um, well, Louis the Ninth of France, but he was also a saint, at least recognized by the Catholic Church, that is. And so Charles is a great diplomat, and he has a bit of a skill for intrigue and getting things that he wants done. So what happens? The Pope at the time, Gregory the 10th, and what does he do? Well, Gregory goes ahead and allows, or rather enables, the French to invade southern Italy, the Kingdom of Sicily, which is a fiefdom of the royal family of Hohenstaufen, which was previously the emperors of the Holy Roman Empire of Germany and Italy, or as it is colloquially known as the Holy Roman Empire. And so the French invade, kick out the Hohenstaufens, and then they have all of southern Italy. A great staging ground to invade back into Greece and restore the uh, gone but not forgotten Latin Empire. But that doesn't happen. Well, why not? So Michael the Eighth, unfortunately, or rather fortunately, maybe for some people, decides to open a dialogue with the Pope. He's like, "Hey, please, please don't allow the French to invade. We need help. We will do whatever you want, please." That's essentially what happens because Michael decides that he is going to open talks to amend the schism. Yep, the East-West schism, which started over the Filioque. Um, that's one of the main reasons, at least, for why the Great Schism was a big thing and why it was still progressing throughout the day. And so Michael caves and was like, "Yeah, we will perform talks, we'll have a council, and you will instruct me on what we're going to do so that we can mend the schism and I do not get invaded." And so what happened then? So after Michael made these decisions with the Pope Gregory X, they held the Council of Lyon. And what happened at the Council of Lyon was pretty interesting. They essentially, the East and the West were going to reunify, and this was catastrophic. So back home in the uh, now restored Eastern Roman Empire, all the subjects of Michael were furious about this, especially his clergy. For one, it was heretical for him to even entertain the idea of um, submitting and unifying with the Latin way of thinking, because one, the filioque, two, the thought process of papal infallibility and supremacy. No one was going to agree with that. So after the Council of Leon, where they decided that they were going to have the Roman Church and the Catholic Church reunify, or at least make headway towards unifying, the French did not invade the Byzantine lands, and so Michael got what he wanted out of it. However, his reign continued to be a opposed one at home until his death in 1282. And what did that cause? Well, after his death, the son that he had, Andronicus, completely rejected the unification of the two churches, as was the popular support of the people and of the nobles and the clergy. No one in the Greek land supported the council or the unification, and this caused the ire of all the Latins. The Pope, especially, though, was extremely angered by this, and he decided that it was now good to attack the Greeks. Now, as I just mentioned, after Michael died in 1282, things started changing. However, that wasn't technically the start of it. In 1281, Charles of Anjou, as previously mentioned, was a great intrigue person, and so he elected a new pope, Martin the Fourth, I believe, and Martin called for the excommunication of the Byzantine Emperor Michael Palaiologus, and of course, this soured everything. So while Michael tried to resist for the rest of his reign the antagonization from the Latins and the West, it didn't bring much to fruition. And so now Andronicus II is the emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire. Now, Andronicus would have a great time with a more stable reign than his father had within the Byzantine realm. However, the important thing that we want to talk about now is what happened towards the end of Michael's reign with the unrest due to religion. So we have, of course, all the people within his lands, like I said earlier, rejecting the union that they tried to bring about via the Council of Leon. Um, a lot of places, especially in the Bulgarian lands, which he was recently conquering and trying to attain, uh, did not obey in enforcing the union, just like many other places. However, notably, um, in the Holy Mountain monastery of Zagraphou, uh, there was complete resistance, which led to the intervention of the Latins via crusaders under, obviously, the order of the Pope, but then in accordance with the emperor. So what happens? Well, we have a little excerpt here. The Pope dispatched an army to help the emperor. The Latin army entered the Holy Mountain and committed such barbarism as the Turks had never committed in their 500 years. Having hanged the Proteton and having killed many monks in Vatopedi, Averon, and other monasteries, the Latins attacked Zagraphou. Now, the blessed abbot Thomas warned the brethren that whoever wished to be spared from the Latins should flee from the monastery, and that whoever desired a martyr's death should remain. And so 26 men remained, the abbot, 21 monks, and 4 laymen who served as laborers for the monastery. They all closed themselves within the monastery's tower, and when the Latins arrived, they set fire to the tower and killed these 26 heroes of Christ, and they found a martyr's death in the fire. While the fire was burning in the tower, they chanted the Psalms and the Akathist to the Most Holy Mother of God. They gave their holy souls to God on October 10th, 1283. In the same year, in December, Emperor Michael died in poverty when the Serbian king rose up against him in defense of orthodoxy. So, in short, while Michael was able to establish, or rather reestablish, the Eastern Roman Empire, he did a lot of indelicable things like trying to create a union under the Pope and send in Latin armies to attack monasteries. And yet he also established a stable Roman Empire for another at least 200 years. However, despite these efforts, obviously, as you all know, the Turks would eventually overcome the Roman Empire in 1453 at Constantinople. Much of this would also be due to the fact that Michael never focused on Anatolia, which was much of the power base for both the economy and for manpower of the armies. Instead, he spent too much time focusing within the European part of his lands, the Balkans, and this brought much dismay towards further uh, Palaiologi rulers, as the Serbians and Bulgarians were going to be constantly at their throats, fighting over control of the Greek lands and over uh, who was the true successor to the Eastern Roman Empire.